Hey guys, welcome to our Downrange weekly video podcast on Halloween. It's Halloween. You'll notice there's not a huge amount of Halloween decorations here. This year, actually, I'm going to go trick-or-treating as Nancy Pelosi because that's the scariest person that I know and nobody wants to appropriate her culture. Anyway, old joke. I was actually thinking before I went on camera, what have I ever dressed up as? And the answer is I've never been to a costume party. Certainly not one that I can remember, except for one. I went to one costume party, and they were like, oh, it's going to be great. You're going to dress up. It's going to be really cool. And so I got a sticker that says, hello, my name is. I stole this straight out of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And on that sticker, I wrote God. And then so when I went to the costume party, they said, what's your costumes? I'm God. And they're like, oh, come on, Michael. I'm like, show some sympathy and some taste. Use all your well-earned politics or I'll lay your soul to waste. Happy Halloween! I'm just back from vacation in Ireland. That's why I'm so happy. All that Guinness goes a long way toward making you a happy, happy, joy, joy, joy person. That's why if you see the sign right here, woman needs a man like a fish needs a bicycle, you're thinking, oh, did he go to Ireland and get woke? In addition to getting drunk? No, this wonderful sign is from really one of the holy places in Ireland, and that is the Guinness distillery, or the Guinness brewery in Dublin. It is an absolutely wonderful place. It's where they make Guinness. It's where you can get the best pint of Guinness on earth. You don't know what Guinness tastes like until you have it at the Gravity Bar, which sits on the top of the brewery. I've seen pictures of the Gravity Bar in airline magazines for years and years and years because it's all glass. It's got a 360-degree view of Dublin, the mountains, the fields. Amazing. But in the pictures in the airline magazines, there's like 3 well-dressed people there. When I was there was like 3,000 people, and they were swilling Guinness like wild animals, which is exactly what I did. And Guinness has the largest gift shop in the world. All things Guinness are available. But for a while, Guinness did these ads that were complete lunacy. And one of them was the fish needs a bicycle ad. You probably saw that video coming into this. But it was a wonderful trip. It was a birthday trip for my sweetie. We spent her birthday in a castle on the west coast of Ireland. There were actually like little river otters leaping. I saw salmon. Okay, I'm not a fisherman, all right? I'm from Tennessee. When we talk about fishing, I remember my uncle telling me, we're sitting in a John boat in some stock pond, and he's like smoking this big cigarette, a Marlboro, and he goes, you gonna light that fuse or are we gonna sit here all day in this damn boat? Anyway, that's pretty much fishing in Tennessee. But we're walking along this river, and my sweetie is taking wonderful videos of river otters, which are truly amazing creatures. And all of a sudden, something launches out of the water, and I look over, and it's a salmon. And even though I'm not a fisherman, I'm a prolific liar, because after all, I'm on television. It was 8 feet long. It was so big, it had portholes in the side, and you could see little salmon looking out from inside. Maybe not. Okay, call it 3.5 feet, but I've never seen a salmon leap before. 2.5 feet. It just hung there in the air, and it looked over at me and said, ha, catch and release. Thought, ha, shotgun. Anyway, we went to wonderful places in Ireland, some wonderful food.
This week's Triggered is brought to you by Midway USA. Just about everything for shooting, hunting, and the outdoors. Volquartsen Firearms. Excellence is essential. Taurus USA. Prepare and protect. Rock Island Armory Arms Corps. Home of the STK 100.
I want to show you this little piece of tchotchke that I brought back from Newgrange. Newgrange is north of Ireland. It's a Neolithic burial site, north of Dublin. It's a Neolithic burial site, and I love stuff like that. Because, I mean, here's this place. It's huge. It is kind of like this great big giant burial cairn covered with great big giant rocks. It was lost to history, rediscovered in the late 1600s. And it's got one tunnel, one very small, very narrow, don't be claustrophobic if you go in there, tunnel, ending in a burial room, or at least where there was remains of ashes. And it's set in such a way so that at the winter solstice, light shines down the tunnel, which of course, that's how you kept time if you didn't have Rolexes, things like that. it was an amazing thing, just an amazing. These triple spirals are kind of exclusive to Newgrange and some of the other burial mounds around there. The great thing about them is nobody's really sure who built them, and they're not totally sure how they built them. They don't know where they were able to get those big rocks and how they were able to carry them across what is basically flat land, tons and tons of rocks. They know virtually nothing about the place. And I think that's wonderful. I mean, of course, I'm not saying aliens. Stay with me on this. I love stuff like that. I mean, there's so much when we look at the concept of prehistory, those things that happened before history, you know, before we are recording history, that tell us that there's so much of the world that we honestly don't know. We assume because we are arrogant SOBs. You know, we look back from this high position, from our perch, and say, yeah, we understand all that. Do we? One of the places my sweetie and I went, which was, once again, this is, if you ever go to Ireland, go to the Aran Islands, the largest, which I think is Ishinmore. I forget stuff like that. But it's about a 45-minute ferry ride from near Galway. You go to the coast, take the ferry over. And one of the reasons I wanted to go there is, aside from buying my sweetie her birthday present, which is a beautiful sweater from the Sweater Exchange on Aran Islands, we went to this huge, once again, prehistoric concentric circular stone fort. Maybe Celt, maybe before Celt. The amazing thing is you look at this, it's dry stacked rock. That is basically, it's perfect stacked piles of rock. There's 3 concentric circles, a 4th circle, outer, which has large standing stones pointed out. I forget what it's called in French. But so if you charge up into a horse, you charge up into a pointy rock. And it backs up to those incredible Irish cliffs. Everybody's seen pictures of those cliffs. It's just, it is one of the most beautiful spots on Earth. It's one of the wildest spots on Earth, because out there is the Atlantic Ocean. Next stop is America. And you're looking at this fort, and you're looking at thinking of the amount of work that went into building these huge, thick walls, this incredible stuff. And you think, question A, who are they defending against? Who, let's say, Newgrange, 3,000 years before Christ, 5,000 years old. The circular forts on the Aran Islands are maybe 3,000 years total, 1,500, 2,000 years before Christ, and then afterwards. Once again, we're not sure. But you look at these fortifications, which are awesome today. I mean, you need a nuclear bomb to get in the place. Who were they defending against? And you know, whenever I go, I've been to a lot of fortresses. I've been lucky enough to go to a lot of castles. And my thought is always the same. I go in there and I thought, man, if I could just look back in the magic look-back machine one day and see how this place was really fought. How was it fought? How was it meant to be fought by its designers? Anyway, great time in Ireland. Of course, I got a 48-hour virus. I got to tell you this. This is really stupid. We went to a medieval feast in a medieval castle, which was like totally cool. And with all these complete strangers, and we don't have forks, because you know, forks are a later invention. Spoons, knives, cool, forks, not so much. So we dipped food out of communal bowls. This is why the life expectancy in the Middle Ages was like 24 years. What was I thinking? I mean, you know, oh, this is really good. You're talking to all these people from all over the world. 48 hours later, you have a date with the porcelain goddess. I thought maybe it's food poisoning until 48 hours after I got it, my sweetie got it. If you go to Ireland, you go to the medieval feast, you know, insist on a private plate. I mean, instead of, anyway, I loved it. I had a wonderful time. I can strongly recommend Connemara. Peated single moss 12-year, best whiskey I've tasted in Ireland. Guinness is God's own beer. And now that we've ambled through Michael and his sweetie's vacation, a couple of new product things to kind of take you through. First, I just wanted to show you this guy. We showed you that vest that we got from Mike Blarney Leatherworks. This is the second vest. This is the vest that you're actually going to see the most of on my concealed carry segments on Best Defense. Once again, I want to thank you for that. I mean, I love it when so many people like email in or contact me on Facebook and say, what happened to the concealed carry segments? We'd like them back. Well, They're going to be back. This is the vest I'm going to use. I had it sized intentionally large because there are things that I want to demonstrate as I put those segments together. So I just wanted to show this from Mike Blarney. It's a heck of a vest. All the same things that I said about the original are true. It's weighted. If you flip it back, you've got weights here. You've got reinforced side panels where the gun scrapes against them, where all my clothes have scratch marks. By the way, incidentally, that's the best thing about coming back to the United States. Look, a gun. It doesn't happen in Europe. Couple of more new products I want to talk to you really quickly today. Just before I left, Crimson Trace, my friends at Crimson Trace, whom I love and whom I've done business with for so very many years. Lou, who founded the company, is a dear, dear friend. Gosh, Lane Tobias and all those guys, Michael Faw. And they just came out with, they were acquired by the holding company that has Smith & Wesson. They came out with a line of red dot sights and scopes. Their availability is tomorrow, beginning November, these sights trickle out. These are the first two that are going to be available, and they managed to get them to me pretty quickly. And I want to talk to you a little about them as an option. The first one here is, I think, CTS 1000. You look at that and you go, it's an Aimpoint clone. That's fair. It is an Aimpoint style tube sight, 2 MOA. A pretty nifty looking little sight. Feels heavy to me, but the weights quoted by Crimson Trace include this mount. Now those bolt patterns are Aimpoint standard. I in fact contacted Crimson Trace yesterday to make sure they were Aimpoint standard bolts and they'll fit an Aimpoint standard mount. So it's going to be maybe a speck heavier than Aimpoint, maybe not, but it is Crimson Trace's typical quality. I mean, this is a company that only does good quality. As much time as I've spent in their factories, as much time as I've spent around their people, their quality assurance people, it's a company I have huge respect for. But anyway, this is probably the first one you'll be seeing. Obviously, an AR kind of mount. It's mounted on standard AR height, with that standard inch and a half, inch and a quarter offset. So that guy is coming. And the second sight that you'll see it's so quickly here, you'll notice it does not have a box that goes with it yet. This is a CTS 1200. It is a reflex red dot sight. I got a couple of features I like a lot with it. I just wanted to bring up to you. It is the bolt pattern. The screw pattern in it is Burris, Venom, Vortex, JP Doctor. So any of your mounts, like your Glock plates or any plates for a pistol or any mounts for a rifle that are specifically designed for that very, very common Burris fast fire mount will work with these. The battery compartment is on the side, getting rid of one of God's little annoying features, which is taking the sight off to change the battery. And yes, once again, I have Trijicon RMRs. I've taken them off. I've put them back on. They've never lost zero. Nonetheless, it's a pain in the butt because you put the Loctite on them. And anyway, ask me if I've stripped screws doing that. I'd always rather bolt the damn thing on the gun and then change the battery back and forth. This one has, I think, it's obviously designed for a pistol. It has an excellent, excellent pistol size MOA dot on it, 3 3/4 MOA dot, which works well. I have in the past used 2 MOA dots on a pistol. It is too small if you're using it in competition. As I mentioned to you guys when I was the last few months obsessed with rimfire as we went toward the Rimfire Challenge World Championships, I changed out my Seymour red dots on my Rimfire Challenge guns from 4 MOA red dots to 8 MOA red dots because I wanted to be able to pick up the dot quick and move fast. So a 3 1/4 MOA dot is a good compromise both as, say, a competition gun and a carry optics gun that you might use in USPSA or I forget what the IDPA's division now that allows a red dot sight, or that you might put on, say, a Rimfire Challenge type gun. And I'm going to fiddle around and see how this works on a defensive pistol. There's some experts in red dots on defensive pistols. Mr. Suarez, you know who I'm talking about here. I want to talk to him about this sight a little bit. They are what I would call mid-range price sights. That is, you're not going to pay Aimpoint prices for them. I think this is like 3 1/4. So they're sort of in maybe a loophole delta point sight range. That would be maybe a little $80 higher, $90, $100 higher than an equivalent maybe fast fire or Vortex. But it's Crimson Trace, and there's Crimson Trace's name on it, and to me that means a lot. It just means a huge amount. I wanted to mention some of the stuff I'm doing over the next month. It's on Michael's schedule of things, which is why I brought this little guy out here. This is a Sig 365. We did a video on it on first shots. I like to do those first shot videos. You know, I just got it. I want to shoot it. Here's how it goes, and it went really well. I mean, it's got the two greatest triggers I've ever felt on striker-fired polymer frame guns are the Ruger LC9S and this gun, the Sig 365. Of course, 10 rounds in the magazine, a gun built around the magazine's neat trick. So I put 100 rounds through it, 150 rounds through it. Over the month of November, I'm going to bring it up to speed and make sure that it's what I would consider a carryable gun. And then I do want to spend some time carrying it. I'm fascinated with the gun. I'm fascinated with how lightly it's shot for a mini 9mm, which always barks. The holster I got for it, I think I've shown you this as well. This is a DeSantis holster. And it is for appendix, inside the waistband, appendix carry, DeSantis holster. So this is my chosen holster on this puppy. So I'm going to be doing this. The other thing I'm going to be doing that you're going to think is profoundly weird is I've decided this month that I want to master the crossbow. Probably had something to do with going to Ireland. So anyway, I mean, one last Irish thing. My sweetie and I are going to be cooking an Irish Christmas dinner. And so all of those of you who are waiting for recipes from me, and I know there's at least one of you. LB Johnson, look up. You know who I'm talking to. It's all going to be Irish this year. I guarantee you they'll be Guinness. We will see you next week on the Downrange Video Podcast. I'm Michael Bain, and when you're out there, be careful tonight.